Hello, happy Halloween. Welcome to the Chrissy Mayer podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, this review from Walk Up M. His review is titled Gavin. I love this review. I don't like listening to women, but she had the mayor of Fagville, USA on, so she's good in my book. Okay, he must be referring to Gavin McGinnis. See, that was a great review. He tried. I like it. I appreciate all the reviews. 5 stars, guys. Just go and do it. And I really enjoy reading them because I enjoy hearing your guys' thoughts and feelings and what guests you like, what guests you want to see more of. Speaking of seeing more of people, this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about something we all need more of. Not just sex, but great sex. Fellas, now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, bluechew.com. That's blue like the color blue. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. You can take them any time of day or night, whenever, right? You can just take it right now. Even on a full stomach, so you can be ready for when an opportunity arises. Ladies, get in on this too. Get some for your man. Come on, holidays are coming, and you want to also be coming. Get those stockings stuffed, all right? I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore because that's his job. Okay. Blue Chew is made in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to a doctor and wait in line. It's even cheaper than a pharmacy. They prepare it and ship it right to your door in a discreet package so that you don't have to have a discreet package, if you know what I'm saying. There's no awkwardness and you don't have to leave your home. If you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. And right now we have a special deal for you. Visit bluechew.com and get your first shipment free when you use the promo code CMP. Just pay $5 in shipping. Again, that's BLUE, chew.com, and use the code CMP. Try it for free. Blue Chew is the better, faster, cheaper choice. I thank them for sponsoring this podcast. Remember, this podcast is free. So if you want to support me, support them. Just use the promo code CMP. And remember, guys, it doesn't matter if Trump wins, if Biden wins, you can still be hard. No matter how the results may affect you. Speaking of hard, hot sauce. Silk City hot sauce. I couldn't find a graceful way to get into that. Go to silkcityhotsauce.com. I've been talking about these guys for months because they are really that great. Go to silkcityhotsauce.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 15% off your entire order. Plus, they're going to throw in for free a bottle of cherry sriracha, some really cool stickers, and there may or may not be a new flavor coming out featuring yours truly. I don't know if I can talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. Yeah, there might be a Silk City hot sauce. Chrissy Mayer flavored, inspired. We'll just have to wait and see what comes out. But until that happens, go to Silk City hot sauce right now and get a bunch of different cool flavors. There's smoking, there's taco, and they have clever names. Heck, there's even one for Chad Zumach fans. Let's go to silkcityhotsauce.com. Use the promo code CMP. Get your 15% off now. I'm so excited to have this guy on the podcast today. He is a journalist and managing editor of Human Events. He's the editor at Post Millennial. It's a website. He's a journalist at Rebel News. He writes for Penthouse. He's a t-shirt designer. He's a Twitter provocateur. It's Ian Miles Cheong.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh my goodness, yes, you've been called so many things. You've been called a neoconservative provocateur. You've been called alt-right. You've been called a pro-Trump Malaysian.
Yeah.
Oh my
As
goodness.
if it matters. Yeah, I mean, if these people hate America so much, why don't they just leave?
Yeah, it's like they hate it so much and they're obsessed with shitting on it, yet they will do nothing to improve it and nothing.
No.
Other than
don't make it worse. They want to destroy it. They burn things down. People are trying to make a living. It's coronavirus season, so everybody's, struggling financially. And guess what? They can't even work now because everything's boarded up. And so what do
Yeah.
people do? Well, let's burn down their buildings and their businesses and loot them and then cheer about it because, somebody got shot by a police officer because they were pointing a gun at a police officer. Okay. We're
Yeah.
supposed to feel bad about that?
None of it makes sense. And like what I mean, I've been following you for a long time on Twitter at Still Gray. Very, very I love your Twitter. Their whole like thread, everything. I just like once I started following you, I'm like, oh, I just agree with everything this guy says. And then to see that people call you like alt-right, I'm like, well, I guess consider me alt-right then, because
Yeah,
you're just
it's
saying a
meaningless.
lot of like things that make sense, logical, just
Yeah.
regular common sense type stuff. So
Hmm. And isn't the alt-right supposed to be white supremacist? Do I look white in any way?
no, you don't.
No,
You
exactly.
don't. How did you become interested in or fascinated by, American, well, the crazy hellscape it is now, but when did your
Yeah,
um
before it became a hellscape.
when
Well,
did your curiosity, I guess, come
I
about?
I would say, I've always been interested in American politics. American politics drives the world. What happens in America is going to happen to Europe tomorrow, right? It's going to happen to Asia. Every country depends on America to lead the way, whether culturally or politically, whatever, right?
Is it dumb that I didn't really know that? Like I didn't really think we were that important.
Yeah,
Is that
America really is
crazy?
that important. Well, maybe, I mean, if you're living in America and, you don't really have the perspective of, say, someone living outside of America or who has lived outside of America, then it's hard to understand how important America is to the world. So, I mean, most currencies, I would say, are to an extent, or perhaps even directly so, pegged to the US dollar. So if the US dollar sinks, their money sinks as well. I mean, everything's tied to America. America is the Rome of the 21st century, and it has been the Rome of the 20th century even. So now it's even more important. Although China's coming up, so that's a different thing.
I like how you
But
say Rome.
yeah, I mean, it is an
Rome.
empire. It is an empire.
Yeah.
Culturally speaking, it is an empire.
And I always thought, I guess maybe this is just my kind of semi anti-American schooling and like university training kicking in, but I kind of always thought like, well, Europe is just innately superior, cooler, more stylish, that they're ahead of the game and
They're
that
not.
we have to be looking to them. But maybe that's just like, I don't know, when
Absolutely not.
fashion,
No.
like, I don't know. I just kind of,
Maybe in terms of fashion, sure, but even that, I mean, even that, like, look at who the top designers are nowadays. They're Americans. Tom Ford, right, is American, right? He designs this great suits, wonderful suits. And yeah, he hates Trump, but I mean, these days you got to say you hate Trump. I don't know what he
you have to,
really thinks.
it's the least, it's like it's the coldest take, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. It's like the least controversial thing you could say is that you hate Trump. It's I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
the more people I talk to, the more people are fibbing and lying about how
they
they feel
are.
about Trump.
And this is what, I mentioned this a few days ago on Twitter and I kind of lost my cool. I was saying something along the lines of, there's a whole bunch of you who work in Hollywood, who work in, in media and entertainment, in the news, in video games, books, public publishing, and you're in my DMs and you're saying, "Oh, Ian, I love what you're saying. I agree with what you say, but God, I wish I could, say out loud that I support Trump, or God, I wish I could say I'm a conservative and I think that all this stuff is just insane. This whole drag queen story hour stuff is nuts, etc." And I get it. Like when I'm in the best mood, I think, okay, I understand. You have a job, you have a family to feed. You can't be putting your life on the line for politics. That's not a good idea. And I don't fault them for it. But at the time, I was pissed off. I was thinking, man, you guys are fucking pussies.
Yeah.
If everybody
Yeah.
said something, just came out and was like, hey, I support Trump, like Brett Favre, right? He came out today and he said, I support Trump.
He
If
came out.
everybody
Yeah.
did that,
It is. It's
right?
like coming out.
It is like coming out and it's so difficult, right? It's so difficult. You can even talk to like, trans people who support Trump. And believe me, there are trans people who support Trump. And they'll say that coming out as trans for them was easier than coming out as a Trump supporter because the instant they came out as a Trump
Wow.
supporter, all their friends, decided to cut them off. And that's difficult, especially if you're young, you're trying to find your way in the world. And, it doesn't matter if you're trans or gay or straight or whatever, right? If you're young, especially, it's difficult when you don't have that support network and all your friends, even the ones who even maybe agree with you, cannot be seen associating with you because you came out as a quote unquote racist, sexist, homophobe, right?
And they glamorize the cutoff. Like you even just like might have been today I saw on trending Don Lemon, like,
Yes.
bragging about how he's had to cut people out of his life, cut friends out of his life because they were pro-Trump. I think I read something in like either Glamour or Marie Claire magazine from months back. It was basically like, this is why I cut off my boyfriend, it was basically like why I broke up with my Trump supporting boyfriend. And basically the message was like, you should do it too. And I was like,
Yeah.
these are like young women and like
Insane.
teenage girls are reading this. And I was like,
Hmm.
I mean, once I started reading more and more, I was like, it's such icky. The propaganda is so
It's fucked up.
pervasive. It's so insidious.
I kind of like it in a way, you know.
Why? Because it's so sneaky.
I mean, it's like when people are socially isolated, it makes them a lot easier to manipulate. Wow, that sounds so sociopathic, but it's true.
Wow. Cut it for the clips.
No,
No,
I'm
you're
kidding
right
about that.
though.
It
You're
is
right
it is
though.
true. That's exactly what they do is they cut people off and then they, you know, these groups, which are usually leftist groups, will say, hey, come join us. You know, you can come back into the fold. You know, there are ways to manipulate these people. The way they do it is to cut off their social network. What happens is, like, for instance, I used to be an SJW. I used to be on the left, right?
Same girl, same. Me too.
Right.
Preach on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was in that group, everybody would be, it was sort of like a support network. Even though we were working towards something, we were supposed to be like an anti-harassment network or something like that, a group of volunteers that were helping people. The chat room, wasn't about work. It was about, people getting together and commiserating about how bad their families were, because, most people have like conservative parents, right? And now, granted, I was in like my late 20s, so I wasn't really part of this, these conversations, but I would see what they were saying. And most of them were very young, they were, I would say, late teens, like, 19, 20, 21, that early age, early 20s mostly, since, it was all adults. But they were saying things like, "Oh, my mom, she's like a conservative, and she doesn't accept trans people. She doesn't think that drag queen story hour should be a thing. And what do I do, guys?" And they'll be saying to her, I mean, to this woman, they'd be saying to her, "You should cut her off." They won't say, "Oh, you should try talking to your mom." They'll say, "Oh, she's just a bigot. She's old. You can't change her mind. You just got to cut her off." And that was the natural reaction. And so, a lot of these people, they end up cutting off their friends and family who don't agree with them. And then they get, more and more into that leftist group, which is why, if you look at those, I don't know if you've seen like those collages of photos of, mostly young women. They look beautiful. They're, like in their late teens, and they look gorgeous. And then they go to college, and then suddenly they turn into fucking mutant freaks, right? They
It
turn into,
happens. It happens to the
yeah.
best of us. It happened to me. I cut my hair short. No, I cut my hair short because I was a springboard diver, and it was like
Yeah.
just a lot. You know what it was? Is I was
Yeah.
doing a flip, and I felt my ponytail hit the
Ouch.
diving board. I didn't hit my head, like thank God, but I
Yeah.
was like, oh fuck that! I don't want to feel that again. So I just was like, shh. I mean, it definitely
That's a good
also
reason to cut it.
it also took care of the whole boyfriend issue for a good 4 years because I also had braces at the time. I had adult braces because my I don't know, for some reason my parents were like, let's just install permanent birth control when she goes away to college, and it worked. With flying colors. So I had short hair, braces, and then I was a communications major, women's studies minor. Okay. So I was the full picture. I didn't have pink, purple, blue hair, but I would spray it.
Did you have any problem glasses?
I am quite nearsighted. That has always been a thing. I'm like a negative, like 8.5, if you know anything about blindness.
Yeah. I'm like negative 0.2 actually, so I'm pretty
okay. That's pretty good. See, I've got a hefty. I mean, I should have done laser surgery, but I'm just trying to save up the dollars. So yeah, I mean, when I tore my cornea the other day, I had to wear glasses, and I was like,
ouch,
depressed within 10 minutes just from having to wear my glasses. And anyway, so thank God I had contacts from like 7th grade on, but like for sure, like I was not feeling great about myself. Boys weren't really paying attention to me, so I wasn't really paying attention to them. Plus, I'm being fed like all of this kind of feminist bullshit theory. And
Yeah.
it's like, and it's not just like feminism, it's like feminism in literature, feminism when
Hmm.
it comes to the environment,
It's
feminism when
critical
it comes
theory,
to
basically.
history.
It's
Yeah.
critical theory, right?
Like
You view everything
teaching
through a
you,
feminist lens. Yeah.
it's literally, it's like the Disney World like thing that you like look at the
Yeah.
slides. It's
Right.
they
Yeah.
literally do that, but with like
They do
all
that.
men are evil, and then you just go through college like that's your new lens, and you're it's
Yeah.
smart. I mean, it's smart. Like you're so impressionable. Like people talk about
Hmm.
kids being impressionable. You're pretty
And you
damn
feel smart. You
yeah.
feel smart when
Oh,
you're
you
doing this
feel
because you're
smarter than
like
everyone.
you're deconstructing everything, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at things and you're like, I'll view it through a feminist lens, and suddenly, God, it makes more sense.
Because you
I'm
just
seeing it
yeah.
for what it is, or I'm seeing some hidden secret that no one else is seeing.
You're also just learning how to analyze shit. So you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, new skill plus new lens. Like it's you feel
Yeah.
like you've just flipped over a big rock and you're like, look at all these
Hmm.
worms, you know?
Yeah. The fact is, it's
And
just really mundane, and you're just reading too much into it because that's critical theory.
it's like, okay, it's and yeah, so I was very much like telling everyone I was a feminist, going to SJW, like I was in Students for Social Justice because my other friends were doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
sure, I'm gonna
Yeah. Why
join this
wouldn't you?
club to meet cute boys. Like that was my motivation. I was like, how can I meet men? And
Yeah.
the
Well, good. You
protests,
had your eyes on the prize. Yeah.
yeah, but the prize did not have their eyes on me. So I would go
Unfortunately.
to these,
Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah.
God, what's a term for it? Like in nature, when when something is,
I was
uh,
presenting.
yeah, something like that. But like, in terms of like, plants, if you make yourself really, really colorful, no one's gonna approach you because they see that you are poisonous. I forget the term for it, but essentially
Wow.
you're telling the good men, right? The good men who, would make terrific boyfriends and terrific husbands. They'll look at you, they'll give you one look and they'll think, oh no,
But
like
in
I'm
like
not touching that.
and I
Yeah.
know being in that place because I've never dyed my hair a kooky color, but I've definitely sprayed it that way. And it's like when you're in that place, you're like, I need
Yeah.
to express myself. I am creative. I am breaking out of these blonde shackles I've lived in my whole life. Like I need to let
Hmm.
people know that I'm special.
Oh yeah. Just like
So
everybody else.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing is when you're like college age and plus you're like happy to tell your parents how dumb you think they are. And well, you didn't go to college, mom. You went to
Yeah.
secretarial school. You're an idiot. Look
Yeah.
at a lot of
Right.
these
Yeah.
overpriced books I'm reading. And,
Look at how smart I am. I just read Baudrillard, Singularity and Simulacra or whatever.
oh, I
Yeah.
would fight with my dad all the time.
Simulation.
I'd come home from college. I'd fight with my dad about like how fucked the homeless are and how we're not doing enough to help them. And he would just like, oh God, we
Yeah.
would fight so hard. But now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh, I was an idiot. And I was
Yeah.
just looking, I was like, just,
Your
you
lens
know,
is a bit narrow,
I
right?
thought
Yeah.
I was opening my mind, but I was
It
like
wasn't.
horse blindery as fuck,
Yeah.
and
It's a horse blinder. Yeah.
now looking back, I'm like, okay, the patriarchy is a thing, but like I wasn't being pointed as a woman to the ways in which like it's kind of been a good thing. Like now
It
I'm
is a
going,
good thing.
man, it would
It's
be
a good
nice to
thing.
just stay home and clean and not
Yeah.
worry about having a full-time job and like
Yeah. Look
yeah.
at what happens with, when you dismantle the patriarchy, since, we're talking about it. If you dismantle the patriarchy, what happens is terrorism rises. And now you might be thinking, how did you go from, patriarchy, getting rid of patriarchy to causing terrorism? Well, I'll tell you how. Because men need purpose, and men tend to be more action oriented. And when they have no purpose, they will find it in very, very unhealthy places. Either they turn to
Like
drugs or they
Reddit.
turn to violence. Like Reddit too. Yeah, I mean, look
Just
at the way
kidding.
they behave. They think they're no Reddit also. I believe that. I mean, these people I have weird worldviews, right? I mean, where did the red pill community originate from? And I don't mean red pill in like the good way. I mean in like the really bad way, right? The I hate women sort of way, the incel kind of way.
Oh,
Well, it
okay.
started on Reddit, right?
It's
Well,
the
maybe
answer. It's the equal
start
and
there, but
opposite.
got big there.
It's the
Yeah.
equal and opposite force to feminism. It's like I hate
Yes.
men. This is why I hate women. This is why. It's like
Yeah.
they're two sides of the same coin or whatever.
And when you deprive men of purpose, when you deprive them of jobs, of high-paying jobs, even, especially if they are, the more kind of guys who don't go out and do manual labor, which most men these days are anyway, they tend to gravitate towards, violent activities. They go to 4chan, they'll start becoming extremists, and some of them even, take up terrorism. I mean, look at the Middle East. A lot of men there, the reason why they become terrorists and why they join Al-Qaeda or ISIS is because they have no purpose and they want to have a sense of belonging to something. None of them get laid. None of them have any family prospects. They don't have money. They're poor. Most of them are poor. They're not rich people. It's not rich kids who are going out and blowing themselves up. These are poor kids who have nothing else to do, who are told that, their life will not amount to anything. And so, they gravitate towards these extremist ideas, and they blame other people for it. They blame the West, for example. And, ISIS blames the West. If you're in the West and you're like a white guy, you might blame women for it, or you might blame Jewish people, right? If you're like you gravitate towards a white supremacist organization. If you join the incel group, then you blame women for it. And maybe, you'll start killing women like that, like Elliot Rodger did, right? He killed a whole bunch of women. He drove his car over them. And it's all this extremism that it comes from from depriving men of the right to feel manly, right? The right to manhood. You're taking that away, and so it turns them into these deviant psychopaths.
Right. I've read that, like, with men, right, you're either creating or you're destroying. It's like, it's that action oriented, like, biological, I don't know, desire, right? And then isn't there like a whole generation of men in China? It's called like the forgotten generation, and they're just like middle-aged men who still live at home with their parents because they couldn't find a good job or any job. And
it's the same in Japan as well.
And then it's like a whole slippery slope. It's like I don't have a job, so I can't have a girlfriend, so I'll never get married. So it's like, and then the years tick by, and they're like, well, now the younger guys are getting the jobs. It's like really heartbreaking. And like, I really feel for these guys. I mean,
I don't, because I think they should have just picked themselves up by the bootstraps and done something with their lives.
Really? Okay. You think these are just lazy people who never...
I think they're lazy people. Most people who do not succeed in life, I think they are, generally speaking, lazy people. If presented with an opportunity, they refuse to take it because they're afraid to. And now, you can blame society for making them the way they are, but ultimately it's their choice to do something about their lives. They owe it to themselves. And when they refuse to take the burden of personal responsibility up, then it's all on them ultimately. You can blame a million different factors for why people are the way they are, but in the end, those are just excuses. There are things people can do to improve their lives. I mean, look at me, for example. I am a Malaysian Chinese person, so that means, I don't get the benefits that, say, the natives, so to speak, get over here, right? That's one thing. So I have that going against me. The second thing I have going against me is the fact that I live in fucking Malaysia, right? And people are pointing that out on Twitter, like that's somehow a bad thing. And I'm thinking, okay, so I live in a quote unquote developing nation, not anymore, but I grew up poor, right? By American standards, I grew up poor. And yet I managed to scrape by and, make a person out of myself. And now, the president knows who I am. I mean, look, that is
pretty
unlikely.
fucking cool, man. It's pretty fucking cool. A lot of people think you're pretty fucking cool. And you know what it is? You know why people mention that you're Malaysian? Because it, like, first of all, they're like, what? People have something to say about American politics. That's astute, that's smart, that's brilliant, and they don't even fucking live here. It's like that. And it also disrupts the whole idea that, you know what I mean? Because you're not a white guy. It's very disruptive that your messages are coming from you and not just like a white guy. You know what I mean? Because that they can easily kind of devalue and push off and be like, what does he know? He's a white guy, but you're not a white guy, which means by their own value system, they have to pay attention to what you say.
Exactly, and some do, to their credit, but others dismiss me. They'll say that I want to be white, that I hate myself, and that I've internalized racism. I mean, come on. That is the most racist thing. I mean,
crazy. That's insane.
I never get anything like that from any conservatives. No conservative, not one, has said that to me, right? It's always woke white dudes who tell me this.
You would never tell somebody who majors in international relations, what do you hate your own country? Like, why would you major in international relations? It's the same exact thing. It's like, yeah, it's okay to be interested in a certain, like, it's like, oh, why did you major in Asian religions or something? It's like, people are interested in other countries, other systems. So that is I don't know. I'm looking, like, I'm Googling you, right? And I'm just seeing like there's hip
Horrible
piece
things.
here. They're like hip pieces. And then
Yep.
like, okay, you'll be quoted in some article. And I
Hmm.
wonder if like who you are, the fact that you're like, I don't know why I'm putting this in quotes. You are ethnically diverse, but like
Yeah,
I wonder if the fact that you are not just a white guy, like fucks with a lot of these people, and then
absolutely.
they'll write articles about you because they just don't know what to do because you disrupt their whole like I don't know, their whole system, right?
The
It's
paradigm, right? Their
their whole
paradigm.
paradigm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking their paradigm, man.
Yes, I am.
Um I thought that was funny because one of the things I looked up about you, and you were being critical of Biden wearing 2 masks. You're like, this isn't the way it should be. If they needed
God,
to
why
be
is that even an
thicker,
article?
they would. If they needed to be thicker, they would be made thicker. And then I just like laughing so hard. I'm like, hey, you don't
Yeah.
have sex with 2 condoms, like especially
And you
when
shouldn't. You
especially when I
shouldn't.
poke holes in both of them. Ha ha. No.
You shouldn't have sex in 2 condoms though, because that will cause friction to rupture the condoms.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Don't double
that's
bag it, guys.
yeah. Don't double bag.
You heard it here
Yeah.
first from Ian. Yeah.
Although my understanding is that it's okay to wear 2 masks, but I mean, if you're doing that, just wear a gas mask. You look like an idiot with 2 masks.
What is the situation like in Malaysia? Like from what you gather
That's
about what's
calm.
going on here,
That's like
is it
less than 100 cases. Yeah.
really? Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And
I
so
mean, there's
people
been
are
like a.
not walking
I
around
mean,
in masks over there
oh no, we are walking around in masks. Well, I don't.
because you're Asian? Is that's like it's always it
No.
was an Asian thing, right?
Uh,
Here's
no. I
where I
mean,
sound racist.
well, it is. It was an Asian thing, so it's a lot easier. I mean, it was a lot easier for it to catch on over here because a lot of people wore them before anyway, for whatever reason. I never did,
Yeah.
and I still don't. I'll wear them if I have to, but I don't like wearing it. I just find it uncomfortable. Okay.
I don't understand why anybody
I
wears
don't see
it.
the
Like,
point of it.
yeah.
Like if everyone was made to wear an N95 mask, I'd say yes, more power to you. Those actually work. Those block the particulates that are, smaller than the coronavirus. So yeah, wear those. They
Hmm.
work. That's why, surgeons and doctors wear those, right? Because they actually work. They're actual PPE. But all this cloth mask stuff, wearing a scarf. I mean, wearing a scarf might look kind of cool, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't knock it. But wearing one of those paper masks, those blue surgeon's masks, that's crap. It doesn't do anything. It's not. It doesn't have a filter on it. Why bother? That's just security theater. And people are like, well, it sort of limits the spread of droplets or something. Yeah, maybe that's true, but that only applies if you're literally standing like 6 feet away from somebody. If you're face to face with someone and you have that mask on, it's still gonna get through regardless. If you can
Hmm.
smell their breath and you will be able to, then you're already sick. Okay, you're already sick if they have the coronavirus.
Mines are just full of lipstick, and I'm like, oh, I'll wash them tomorrow. And then you
Yeah,
find like the blue ones, like, and I only wear them to go into stores. Like, I very
yeah,
much pride myself on like, because I live out in the suburbs of New York. Like, it's Westchester. I don't know, like, I don't know if you've
yeah. I
heard
know
of
what it
it.
is.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
of course.
just
Yeah,
like, I
I know
don't
what it is.
know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like people will
It's the
describe a
suburbs.
town in Jersey, and I'll be like, what? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just dumb. So I'll just take the train into the city, the subway, and then back, and I won't wear a
Mhm.
mask on all those trains. And even though the signs say you'll get fined, and I'm like, $50. All right, like let's have them do it. Like what? You know what?
They're not even gonna
Nobody
check, right? They're not
wants
even
to,
gonna enforce it.
and
Yeah,
nobody says shit, and it makes me feel good. And it's like, but I'm also, my heart
yeah.
breaks for like how many people. And it's funny because less people in the suburbs are wearing masks, more people in New York City are wearing masks, just like
Yeah.
alone by themselves or outdoors. And I just like it like, I don't know,
It's
it
kind of
makes me so
stupid.
sad because I'm like, you guys are all brainwashed.
Sheep.
You're brainwashed,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, like there's a time and a place to wear them. If you want to wear them when you're going indoors, to like an enclosed space, and you have an N95 mask, then sure, I would say more power to you and good. You're probably not even going to get the disease because you're protected. Well, to an extent. But if you're doing it outdoors, you're in a park alone and you're wearing a mask, what are you doing? I mean, it's like stopping at a red light when there's no traffic. I don't do that, by the way. I don't stop at red lights when
Ooh, a
there's no
bad
traffic.
boy.
What's
He's
the
a
point?
bad
It's like I'm not going
boy.
to follow a rule that makes no sense. I mean, to me, that's like being tethered to an idea
Hmm.
that doesn't have any, bearing on reality. I mean, it tells me that I need to follow rules that are not there. I'm not going to do that. That's
Yeah.
slavery.
It makes me so sad when I see parents with their little kids that are wearing it, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah. God, why?
like my boyfriend has a 9-year-old son, and he'll talk to him about it. Like he is so funny. Like he's like an awake 9-year-old, and I was like, whoa, like how do we get here? It's pretty cool. But he'll actually be like, hey, do you think that the virus travels just in the air? And he was like, no. He's like, so do
No,
you think it makes sense to wear a mask outside? He's like, no, it doesn't. And it's
precisely.
cool because I'm like, how many parents are
Critical thinking,
not having
right?
that conversation with their kids? And it's like kids are
Yeah.
smarter. Of course, they're like sponges, right? But they're also, I think,
Yeah, but they're asking the
smarter
right
than you
questions.
think.
They're asking the questions that are obvious and that we should be asking ourselves and each other, except we choose not to because we are, just we've been trained to follow orders, right? We have been trained to follow what other people tell us to do, whether it makes sense or not. It's programmed into us. And I think that
Yeah.
we need to start being more critical of the world around us. I'm not saying, hop onto some conspiracy theory about coronavirus and 5G or Bill Gates or whatever, because that
Although
alone
that's fun
is
too.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's nonsense, right? And it's also
Nonsense.
just as bad. It's just as bad as following the rules, that the official rules, because it's just a different set of rules. I mean, you have to question where these conspiracy theories come from, whether they make any sense at all, and whether
Hmm.
they're based in actual reality or facts. Now, if they're not, then why do that? Why
So,
follow it? Why believe it?
so you don't at all. So, because there's so many conspiracy theories out there
There's a
now. I
lot.
mean, like there's the ones
Some of
that
them are
just
real, some of them are not.
there's some that just have to do with like Hollywood and American politics and like the elite, and
Yeah.
then there's like all the deep state stuff, and then there's 5G, and then there's QAnon, and then
Hmm.
is JFK Jr. still alive? There's
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any in particular ones that you feel like you've read a lot to support the truth of?
I think Epstein was murdered.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think.
Oh
Yeah, like
okay.
that.
Oh
That's
for
pretty
sure.
obvious.
That's
Yeah,
yeah. That's an easy one.
because I mean, if you look at the jail cell, there were like multiple different nooses being tied. There were signs
Oh
of a
yeah.
struggle in
The
there. There's
cameras
a
weirdly
broken metal
all
bar.
yeah.
Yeah, the broken metal bar. That's kind of weird, and it seems like it was used to basically choke him to death, right? So
Wow.
he didn't
Yeah.
die from like self-hanging or by hanging off the side of a bed or some nonsense on his knees. Like, come on, nobody dies like that. You would
Yeah.
stop, your body would just pull you back instantly. There's no way you're dying like that. And his hyoid, or how do you pronounce
Oh
it? It's
yeah.
hyoid,
What
the
something one of
bone,
the
the neck
bones
bone.
in his neck was
Yeah,
like all fucked, and it was like
snapped.
not
Yeah.
yeah. And
It's not
that's like
something
a
you get from hanging. Yeah, because when you hang, you actually you're stretching your entirety of your neck, right? This is a neck that the bones that are going to break, because that is what carries all the weight. But when you snap this part here,
that's
that
like you got
is
choked out,
you got
Bart
choked
Simpson
out. Yeah,
style. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's how he died. And yeah, the missing guards, the missing camera footage, the fact that he was in a jail cell, he was supposed to be on suicide watch. Why was he in suicide watch? And then he complained like a week before he died that he was afraid that somebody would kill him. Why was he in a jail cell with the guy who had beaten the crap out of him before that? Like, you have to ask all these weird questions. And it's pretty obvious that he was murdered. Someone killed him.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have been on murder watch instead of suicide watch. Be like,
Yeah.
well, we were all looking at him to kill himself. We didn't notice the
Hmm.
team of people coming in to kill him.
Yeah. How do you
uh,
die in a jail cell?
it's
Yeah.
wild. It's totally nuts. Ted Cruz retweeted you. Was he, or was it the president? Actually, the president has also
The
retweeted
president
you
has multiple times. Yeah.
multiple
Both of
times.
them. Yeah.
Would you say he is your biggest retweet, or is there
The
other?
president? Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
president is the biggest retweet. Yeah, there's
Okay.
nobody bigger on the planet. He's like
I mean,
the
like,
number one man on the
what I
planet
meant to
right
say,
now.
like people you are a fan of, or an unexpected, like, ooh, like you like were a fanboy at somebody's,
Oh
attention,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah.
There are celebrities that I talk to. Yeah, big ones,
Ooh, like
Hollywood
which
celebrities.
ones?
Lindsay Lohan.
What? Lindsay Lohan hit you up? That's great.
Yeah.
To date her, to be her new
No,
boyfriend.
that'd be nice though.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, I never know. I have messaged Amber Heard before, or she rather she messaged me. But
Oh,
with what happened with Depp, I'm not so sure what's going on there. I don't want to judge.
yeah.
It was I like. Here's the thing: everybody's like so quick to judge her, right? They're like, oh, she's abuser. She abused him.
She set him
Well,
up, yeah, or
yeah,
whatever.
and there's people who support her who say that he set her up and so on. And I'm thinking, this seems to me like they had a really toxic relationship.
Yes, there are. When you
Yeah,
date a certain person, it's like I've had one of those where you just bring out the absolute worst in
yeah,
each other, and
right.
it's like all of your insecurities are fueled by them, and vice versa. And it's like, whoo, you're just
Hmm.
before you know it, you're like, I wasn't a person who screams in the middle of the night and like fighting
Right.
outside in the rain, but then you become that person. You're like,
You become
okay,
that person, right? They brought the monsters out of each other, and chances are, if they're in different relationships with different people, they might be perfectly nice, perfectly wonderful, perfectly loving, but together they are like oil and water, right? And I
yeah,
have been in friendships with people like this, where we are perfectly nice to other people, but when we're like happen to be like super close friends with each other, that doesn't work out, right? We hate each other in that moment, right? We fight, right? And
hmm,
and that, to me, it seems like they had a relationship just like that. So I'm not going to judge because I don't know what the exact specifics of their relationship were. Like, obviously they're dating,
yeah,
but I don't know what made them the way they are, right, with each other. So I'm not going to
it's
say a
true.
past judgment to be like, oh, they're one of them's a bad person or they're both bad people. Like, unless there's like she murdered him or something, or killed his dog, or he ran over her leg or something. That I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna judge one way or the other. No point.
Yeah. But didn't she like keep him? Didn't she kind of like get him out of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise or something, or like stopped his work?
I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure.
Maybe it was just the drama
Is
surrounding
it just
it.
a drama of it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's a pretty good place to be in because like you never really know what's going on in a relationship unless you're inside it, unless you're one of
Yeah.
the two people. So um that's a good place to be because I sometimes think like, oh, is my sister in a bad marriage? Like
Hmm.
what from outside looks like a bunch of red flags, but like at the same, I can't be
Yeah.
like all up in her business, like, making declarations. I don't really know if she seems happy or if she's not like asking for help. Like I can't really like treat her
Right.
with kid gloves. I call them mayor mittens because my last name's Mayor, and my
Yeah.
boyfriend Frank is always like, oh, you have the mayor mittens on, which is code
Hmm.
for like not that you're overly nice to somebody, but you like take care of them emotionally too much, like almost like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
kid
pamper them in
gloves, I guess
a
is the
way.
way.
Yeah.
Instead of like talking
Just
straight, be
telling
like,
them,
hey,
right?
what the
Yeah.
fuck's
Straight
going
up.
on? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Does you know what I mean? Like, are you money
Yeah.
laundering or not? I don't know.
Right.
For
Yeah.
example, I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Like an
So
Ozark. Maybe they're
yeah,
money laundering. Yeah.
who knows? I mean, like, yeah, your husband's a gambler. Maybe that's fine. Maybe maybe everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know.
he's gonna be good at gambling. You never know. He might turn professional.
I guess. I mean, I think until I see him on a
Yeah.
program, I'm gonna be like, I hope you
Hmm.
guys are. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess that's just a good place to be when it comes to like judging somebody else's relationship. It's like, well, especially when it comes to
Yeah.
family, it's like, because I
Yeah.
think if I were to keep pressing on that, I think she would push me away
It
and
would
she'd be
snap,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you would end up, being on the receiving end, and you don't want to be that person who's like a busybody and making life more difficult for her. Because, sometimes families have a certain dynamic, people who date each other have a certain dynamic, and outsiders may not necessarily understand that or get it. And when they, put their meddling hands in there, it makes it worse. It makes the situation worse.
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
I resent people who try to tell me what to do with my life, right? They may mean well, but I resent them for it, right? I don't talk to them. I don't want to interact with them at all, even if they mean well and I know they're nice, I know they care about me. I'm not interested, right? I'm not interested in someone telling me how to lead my life, or even pulling strings and making it a certain way, because it makes it difficult for me. I have plans,
Are
and I don't
there
like other people get in the way of it.
are most of these or a lot of these people family members? Are they friends? Are these strangers mostly? Like where are you getting most of this like heat or pressure or like
No,
judgment from?
I just mean in general. I just mean in
Yeah.
general. Like when sometimes when you make a life-changing decision or something, and maybe somebody, whether it's a friend or a cousin or whatever, thinks that you're, maybe you're taking too big of a risk, and then they go and have conversations with other people that end up talking to you because when it's hearsay, people tend to overreact, right? When they hear something, let's say, for example, let's just say I wanted to invest $1 million in, I don't have $1 million, but if I did, say I wanted to invest $1 million in Tesla because I had a really good hunch that it was going to go up by like 20% in a year or something, right? I would say it's a solid investment, and based on my research, blah blah blah, that would be a good call. But if I had, say I had a friend and he saw and he knew what I was going to do, and he started talking to people, and then saying that I'm reckless with my money, and then people get the
Mm.
impression that maybe I'm a gambler or something. I don't gamble, but they would get an impression, and then one of them ends up giving me a phone call and trying to give me the talk or something like that. It's
Hmm.
like no, stop it, go away. Like, don't tell people how to live their lives is my point.
Yeah, I get it because I've had like, I mean, I've grown my beliefs have like grown and evolved like since my 20s, and it's like of course they should like as more information comes in, like you should
Yeah,
change and grow as a person. And I've had like not even close friends, of course, because if they were close friends they would know and they wouldn't
they would
say it,
know
but
and
they'd be like,
they would just be
"Oh,
supportive.
yeah, I remember you from years ago," or "Oh, you changed," or like, "Oh, when
Yeah,
did you get so far right?" And I'm like,
yeah.
girl, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't
Oh
even
yeah, yeah.
know
This.
me. These are people that you haven't
Yeah.
spoken to in years that all of a sudden are like the
Hmm.
authority on you. That
Yeah.
shit makes me so pissed off because I'm like,
That's
where
the worst.
are
Yeah.
you coming from?
Yeah, instead of making it a hypothetical situation about gambling and Tesla, that never happened, by the way. I'll talk about a real situation where,
Yeah.
when I was gravitating towards conservatism, I would say that my closest friends were nice, right? They still are good friends. They didn't judge me. They didn't, even though they're liberals, they know me, right? They know me. They know that I mean well. But then there's people who are like, trying to pull me aside and trying to have conversations with me about my political views. Like, it's one thing, let's say you see me flipping out on Twitter or social media. Maybe I write an article that's like really angry, and then somebody gives me a call and says, "Hey, are you okay? You want to, talk to me about it?" That's fine.
I
I
saw
accept
your
that.
tweets. Are you
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, right. That's to me, that's good. I like it when people reach out like that. That's fine. But when somebody tells me, and it's not based on my behavior so much as they don't like my politics, and I could just be doing something completely fine,
Mm.
but then they give me a call and they're like, you've lost your way, Ian. What are you doing? Like, you're gonna lose everybody in your life unless you change your political views. Why do you support a sexist, racist piece of shit like Donald Trump? Like,
Wow.
I had somebody send me a message like that today, and my response was, "Suck my dick." Okay, just suck my dick.
Suck my dick, mom. No.
No,
Just kidding.
no.
Love
Yeah,
your
no, it's
mom.
just some fucking guy that I haven't talked to in like 5 years, and he
It's
just messages me out of
always
the
a
blue.
guy you haven't talked to in 5 years that's
Yeah,
like, what's, and it's like, no, you think you know me. Like, you know someone at a like a snapshot in time, and you
yeah.
think that that's forever.
I
It's
wasn't
like,
even like this guy's friend. I barely knew him. I played like video games with him maybe 5 times or something. Like we played I don't know, Call of Duty like a couple of times, something like that. It's just I barely knew him, and he has the audacity, the fucking audacity, to tell me I'm ruining my life. Bitch, my life is better than it's ever been. Don't tell me I'm ruining my life, you fucking loser.
yeah. I hope he hears this. What
I
were
hope so too.
the what were the
People are
if
stalking me, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise
really,
me.
I think that's how
Oh
you
yeah.
know you're making it, when you get stalkers. I think
Oh yeah.
like what do you think for you? Like a lot of people go, oh, such and such a thing red pilled me, or this thing,
Yeah.
turned me around. Can you remember exact events or ideas that made you start to like, turn you
Yes.
from the SGW you once were to the
Oh yeah.
genius you are today?
Definitely. I mean, like, so I've always leaned right. I used to be edgy, and you can probably find like old screenshots of my not tweets, but this is before Twitter. It's like IRC chat room stuff. Me making
Friendster,
like yeah,
MySpace.
yeah, stuff like that, making like terrible jokes, like sort of racist, whatever. I'll admit, yeah, they're racist jokes. I used to make these types of jokes, and I didn't mean it, obviously. I was fucking 17 years old. What the hell did I even know, right? So yeah, I used to be that way, irreverent. And later on, I got into the whole social justice thing because I used to be in like game development, game journalism and stuff, and everybody there in that circle, it's entertainment, right? So they're quite
Mhm.
adjacent to Hollywood, they're quite adjacent to music. And if you know anything about these industries, they're very far left now, right? So
Oh yeah.
that's how I got into it. But deep inside, and these are like conversations I'd have with like some of my friends back then. Is like I would get irritated by stuff that people were saying. They would try to cancel something or somebody or some creator, maybe a movie director. They try to cancel someone,
Wow.
and I want to say something about it, about how their views are fucking stupid, like how they're canceling something because they're like hypersensitive or because they just want clout, which is true. They just want clout. These people are nobodies
They
trying to
want
go
to be
after someone
seen.
big.
Yeah.
Right. They want to be seen. They want to feel like they're doing something for social justice. That, trying to get a movie studio shut down or game studio shut down or game development, project shut down. To them, accomplishing that would be like, a move against tyranny, a move against fascism or something, right? If before it used to be just, misogyny or sexism or something, now it's fascism because, hey, what's worse than Hitler, right? So that's how they are. And I would want to say something. I want to have like an alternative take. I maybe want to defend the person that they're attacking. And on some occasions, I did defend the people that they were attacking. And as a result, it resulted in like, mini cancellations of me. They were like, oh, you can't trust Ian. He's not, he's not towing the line, right? He's questioning us too much, right? He doesn't play ball. He's secretly a sexist. He's secretly a homophobe, things like that. And I actually am quite a bit of a transphobe, so to speak. So maybe they were right
What do you
about on
mean?
that.
Like you don't want to be hooking up with a girl and then discover that it's a
That
dude? You
she's
mean
got a
in that
penis?
way?
Yeah, like
I don't
like
think that's
most men.
I don't think
Apparently, that's transphobic.
that's not
Yeah,
transphobic. That's called having a sexual preference. Like
yeah.
that's
You're not
just
allowed to have a sexual preference now. Now, if you're like yeah, if you list your preferences as, let's say, I was reading about Grindr. Now, I'm not gay, but reading about it and how the community there is like, okay, I prefer black men or I prefer white men, right? They're listed in the app, and then you have like these fucking woke websites like BuzzFeed calling these gay men racist because they refuse to date like a certain race. If they list, oh, I don't want to date Hispanics, oh, you're racist against Hispanics. It's like,
so fucking crazy
really?
because I bet if you were to ask the people who write these articles and who grandstand and who
They all
posture
date white men.
what they're, you know what I mean? They
They
would
all
be
date white
like,
men, even if they're black
oh,
women.
I would
They
never go
always,
down on another
yeah.
girl. Ooh,
All of these people. What's funny is like, something I noticed is that all of these people, mostly women, right? The ones who write about this, they all date white dudes. All they do is shit on white dudes all day, man. But at the same time, they date a white dude because I'll tell you why. Because the white dude that they're dating is probably a cuck, right? I don't mean like in like the sexual sense. I mean that he's more like he's a beta, right? He's a beta, and they're dating him, and because they get to control him, right? They get to control a white man, and for them, it's like very empowering. The personal is political, after all, and that's how they view things. So that's why they do that. But going back to your question, why, how, or what changed me? Well, it was the inability to to speak my mind, to speak like this, right? To just air my views and have the freedom to do so and not feel like I was walking on eggshells, and
right.
and that was a frustrating experience, right? And so I wanted to get out of politics at this point. This is like maybe 2014, 2015, early 2015 that it started changing, I guess. I started talking to right wingers, publicly, associating with them, conservatives, and they seemed like nice people. And sure enough, they are nice people. They're certainly much nicer than the leftists I was hanging out with. And guess what? The instant I started talking to these right wingers, some of whom are my friends now, publicly, I get these DMs, like hundreds of people DMing, maybe not hundreds, but like dozens of people are DMing me. They're like, Ian, that's a bad look. Delete that tweet. Don't talk to this person. You can't talk to this person. And now people get that, when they talk to me publicly, people start messaging them with stuff like that. Don't talk to Ian. He's a bad person.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
that,
these are all just tweets, like Twitter conversations. Like these are all like, yeah. And then people go, oh, what are you doing? You're talking to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I didn't want to feel controlled. Yeah, I was like, well, fuck off. I'm just gonna go further to the right. I mean, this tells me that you guys just want to control me, and anyone who disagrees with your views is just gonna get dogpiled and shut down and told that they're not allowed to speak. And God, I'm not up for that. I'm not up for being muzzled. That's not me. So I rejected them wholesale. That's what I did.
Yeah, it's like there's more and more eggshells being put out before you. It's like you're feeling more and more stifled. So it's like you either completely like lay down and like just have no backbone, or you just begin to stand up in small ways for what you feel is right.
Yeah, I did in a big way. Right? I just associated with like the largest right-wingers that I knew, Sargon of Akkad, right? The YouTuber, right?
Oh
Milo
wow.
Yiannopoulos, right?
Oh, Milo's a
Yeah.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked for him for a while. Yeah, he owes me
Oh,
money, by the
cool.
way. Yeah, not so
Milo,
cool.
if you're watching. I
Yeah.
met the first and only time I met Milo, he like I was at Compound Media in the studio and he like called my outfit hideous.
Oh
And he
God, of
was
course
like,
he did.
but you don't get like Ian, like gay men have a strange power over me, like where I just feel
Uh-huh.
like they know better in all cases, and I
Yeah.
have to listen to what they say. And
I
he,
wouldn't trust his taste.
I
He
was like,
doesn't really have good
but I
taste.
also
Yeah.
know he doesn't like women, so it's like
Yeah,
at
I
the
know.
same time
He
he's
does
like
not like
he's
women.
not trying to do me any favors. And like my show on Compound Media is called Wet
Yeah.
Spot. He's like, oh, that's dreadful. That's disgusting. You have to change the name of your show. You're repulsing the very people you're trying to attract. And like he's hilarious. Like he's a force.
He's
Like
funny.
he walks
Yeah,
into
but
a
he still
room.
owes me money, though. He still
He
owes me money. Just
he
putting
owes
that
you.
out there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Milo, if you're listening to this, you gotta pony up. We're
Just pony
saying it
up.
here.
It's not a lot of money, Just pony up. It's only $4,000. Okay, it's not a lot of money.
That's a lot. That to me, that's a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money, but no, he can afford it. So yeah, pony up. You
Just
got my
buy
PayPal.
one less purse, Milo, and just Venmo Ian.
Yeah. No hard feelings though. I just want my money. That's all. I don't give a shit about your politics or your views or you personally. I just want the $4,000. That's it.
Oh man.
Yeah. Because I don't hold grudges, but I do keep tabs on what people owe me.
For sure. I always like if I loan out like 50 or less dollars, I'm like, I always have an amount where I'm like, it's okay if I don't get it back. You know what I mean? I'll just kind of 4,000 is significant.
That's significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for work too. It's not like I lent him the money, right? It's for work. So.
What about if you send him a Venmo request with like a smiley face? Like a little, PayPal does invoices now. Did you know that?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. If I can find like a working email address, maybe I'll just ping him. Yeah.
You recently, I'm not going to call this beef or drama, but you were, I guess, upset or had feelings towards Tim Pool for having
that was nothing.
guest.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday. Yeah. Cleared things up, but yeah, I was not too happy about the fact that he had invited Vosh on. Vosh is like this lefty YouTuber who is undoubtedly going to watch this because he's a fucking narcissist. Yeah.
Was he a little like pedo-esque, or he wasn't like
pedo-esque? I would say he's not. I don't think he's a pedophile, but he definitely has views where he's talking about getting rid of the age of consent or something like that. I know, and he's trying to be consistent. And some people will say, oh, he deserves credit for consistency. Well, I don't give a shit about consistency. I mean, well, I do care about consistency, but when used in this context, though, it's just actually kind of terrible.
Who else was consistent? Hitler, lots of terrible people.
A lot of people are consistent about their bad views. Yeah. So, his views may be consistent, but it doesn't mean that I have to approve of them. Consistency is not a credit. It's just a thing, right? It's just a quality to something. Whether it's consistently good or bad is, that's a different subject. So I didn't like the fact that, Tim Pool had him on, and it seemed like Tim didn't really have full control of that situation, right? That conversation, because I think Tim was under the impression that Vosh was going to go on there and they're going to have like a normal, chill conversation. But Vosh was in debate mode. He was in debate mode, and clearly, brought his A game when he went to Tim Pool's show. And I don't think Tim was, prepared for a debate. So it seemed like 4 hours of Vosh speaking over Tim, and it was just kind of shitty. And I liked Tim. I like his show, and I do think that I would say now in retrospect, it wasn't a bad idea to have Vosh on. Just maybe next time just be more prepared. Right? Having him on as a guest, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, one thing I'll hand to Tim, and I'll hand a lot of things to Tim, but one thing I like about Tim is that he's very consistent and in a good way about his beliefs. Right? He believes in freedom of speech and platforming anybody. He doesn't believe in deplatforming people, which is what the left wants to do. Right? The SJWs will say, "Oh, don't let Tim speak," and there have been instances where people have tried to prevent Tim Pool from speaking. Right? I think the ADL or something went after him one time when he was going to speak at MythCon. So I get it.
Ian, I think you're frozen right now. Is there?
Oh, Emma.
I also don't want to stop you because you're on a roll.
No.
But I've stopped you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
I'll stop and restart the camera.
All right, I'm gonna. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose you. Oh God, we fixed it.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, no,
Hey.
it's sometimes the camera dies. Yeah, so yeah, like I get it. You know, and Tim Pool, his views or I mean, his decision to platform him was fine. You know, it just maybe Nixon just be more prepared. That would be my advice to it. But no, there's definitely no hard feelings between me and Tim. Like I said, we had a
Yeah.
private conversation. I told him, you know, like I told him exactly what I just told you. Is what
Yeah, I
what
get it
happened.
because it's like, I mean, you're like me, like talk to anybody. I don't like the
Yeah.
idea, like, don't talk to this person just because. But it's like, okay, if someone has a shitty view or a shitty take, like, ask
Hmm.
them about their shitty take, you
Yeah,
know?
take them to task for it, right?
If
Yeah,
it's something
exactly.
really, unless you have no idea that they had this shitty take.
Right, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind, you know, seeing Tim Pool platform someone like I don't know that CNN guy who ate from a skull, you know, ate a human skull.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
What?
There was this one guy.
Trick
I
or
can't remember.
treat, everybody. This is gonna
Yeah,
happy
right. He
Halloween.
ate a human skull. He cannibalized the person on camera for his documentary. I can't remember his name. He threatened to punch the Nick Sandman. Nick Sandman's like the 14-year-old, you know, the Covington kid. He threatened to punch him when that
Oh my
happened.
God.
Yeah, so yeah, this guy's a scumbag. And but you know what? I want to hear from him.
Jesus.
I want to hear Tim Pool talk to this guy and ask him, you know, about his views. Like what makes him the way he is? Why is he such a fucking fanatic, you know?
He ate out of a skull?
Yeah.
Like killed a person and ate
No,
their
no, 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 no.
brains?
He didn't kill a person, but he went to India or something and he did like some ritual, you know, where they eat the dead.
I'm imagining Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom when they have like the
Yeah,
monkey
the Kali
brains and
Ma
they're like,
stuff. Yeah.
behold, monkey brains.
I wonder if that was a real monkey. Do you think it was a real monkey?
I don't know. I bet not. Well, probably not. You figure like, they have a
Yeah.
high budget. They could
Yeah, they don't
do,
need that. Yeah, they get
yeah,
prosthetics, right? Yeah.
probably like a lot of prosthetics,
Although, you
but
know, if you watch like if you watch like old Jackie Chan movies, he does kill animals in them. There's a movie where he
oh
rips
no.
an eagle in half. He grabs an eagle and just
What?
tears it from the body. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I watched it. I was like, oh no, that's real.
Oh
That's
my
fucking
God.
real.
How un-American.
Oh, it's terrible. And they kill like a whole bunch of other animals as well. Like they just drive off horses off a cliff or something
How do
like that. It's just
you even how do you rip an eagle in half? Like, I mean,
well, you
maybe I
grab it by
could.
the legs like a chicken. You know, you just like.
I could take one feather off and then be like,
Yeah.
that's it. I
Like
can't.
I'm pretty sure that was real. I don't think that was like a prosthetic thing because it's like a cheap, low-budget kung fu movie. You know, it's not like they had the money to do that. They could, I guess, they could
Wow.
have just replaced the eagle with a chicken, but still, it's a live chicken, right? That's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of what was like maybe the worst pickle you've gotten in because of something you said on Twitter or
Oh
like
God.
worst snafu or like, I don't know, biggest sort of like
Mm.
blow up?
I don't want to go in. I don't want to go into it.
Okay. I think that means,
Actually, there's one. Actually, there's one that happened recently where I misidentified. Okay, this was Lancaster, right? Lancaster, Philadelphia, and
mhm.
they were rioting. There were a bunch of Antifa people destroying restaurants and stuff, and they're marching through the streets, yelling. And in one instance, a bunch of people climbed up onto a roof, and I misidentified them as Antifa rioters who were climbing onto a roof. Turns out that they were just the residents of the house who were looking.
Oh, I think I did see that. And
Yeah.
I actually like laughed really hard because what I thought you were doing was making a joke because I thought it was a picture of Halloween decorations. I thought they were like
Oh.
blown up people on the roof and you were saying that this is Black Lives Matter, which I was like laughing because I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah, it
really
was,
funny.
yeah,
They're
it was like,
obviously Halloween decorations.
right, yeah, no, it was actually real people. It was real people sitting on a roof, right? So I misidentified it and I deleted the tweet afterwards. But that became like the source of multiple articles,
Oh
right?
God.
People like, oh, Ian Malstrong is spreading misinformation about the Lancaster riots. You know, like there's actually those people on the roof that were not BLM rioters. You know, they were not Antifa. They're just like people, living, you know, standing on a roof
Yeah.
because it's their house. Blah 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 blah. Right?
It's
And I'm
okay. It's
thinking,
like you make
it's kind of
mistakes.
besides the fucking
Yeah.
point, though. It's
You weren't
besides the fucking point.
you weren't doing that maliciously. You weren't
Oh
like,
yeah,
know.
and on top of that, it's like, who gives a fuck? Because that's not the worst thing that happened that night. The worst thing that happened that night is cops getting pummeled in the head by people with baseball bats. It is restaurants being destroyed by Black Lives Matter activists, and like nobody's talking about that. They're just talking about me misidentifying a couple of idiots standing on a roof. Like, okay,
Yeah.
it's
You know
like,
what
all
it is?
right,
Like
that's not even the worst part of the night.
anytime there's
God.
like a voice of dissent or basically a different voice that's away from the norm or the
Yeah.
far left liberal mob, for some reason the standards and the stakes for you or for me or anybody who's like outside the norm, somehow the stakes and the standards are so much higher than everybody
Yes.
else. Like we can't fuck up, we can't be wrong
Yeah. It
once.
can't even be accidentally wrong or
People,
even issue a
I don't
retraction.
know if this is the best example, but like people like shit on Alex Jones, like, oh, he was wrong about Sandy Hook, but yeah, he was
Hmm.
right about a ton of other
A
stuff. So
ton of
it's
other things,
like,
and he apologized to Sandy Hook
yeah,
multiple times. He feels
yeah.
bad about it, and like, what more can you do? I mean, these people want to cancel him completely for one mistake, and yeah, it was a heinous mistake. You know, don't get me wrong, that was a terrible thing to suggest. I mean, it's not like he out and out said it, but like he made a horrible implication there, and he walked it back almost immediately. But still,
Mhm.
it was a bad thing. But he apologized for it,
Yeah.
and he has to live with that for the rest of his life.
And he
Me,
has a conspiracy mind. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
I
his
know what you mean.
mind
Yeah.
is he's like, I don't know. I was like listening to him on Rogan the other day. I was like, maybe he's autistic. Like I wasn't even saying that in a shitty way. I was like, he just has capabilities. You know, like he's able
He
to see
does have
things. I think
capabilities.
his
Yeah.
brain is constantly breaking apart and putting together things. He's constantly, because when
Yeah.
you think in terms of conspiracy theories, you have to always think about what if, what's the
Hmm.
truth behind everything, and
Yeah.
sometimes there's not truth behind it, like with
Right.
Sandy Hook, right? So, but
Yeah.
in
Right.
other cases, that proves very useful, and those are good
Yeah.
skills to have. It's like
Hmm.
taking apart a computer. Sometimes you don't always put it together and it works. You know, it's like,
Yeah. Right.
oops, you
Yeah.
just have
It
to.
works.
But
The
you know
funny
who's
thing about
yeah.
him, yeah, the funny thing about Alex Jones is, I think Rogan once asked him, "Do you believe in the moon landing?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." It's like I guess he researched the moon landing and he found that it's real. You know, it actually
Yeah,
happened. Whereas
yeah.
Rogan was like, "Really?" Because Rogan was not, he was on the fence about the moon landing. He actually thought it was fake.
Yeah. I like how Joe, because Alex is somebody who needs a handler. He needs
Yeah.
somebody to like calm him down, get him a drink, get him a
Hmm.
snack, tell him to relax, slow him down, get him to explain himself, have time to fact check. Like, I
Yeah.
don't feel like Rogan was stifling him by any means.
No.
I think he was just like, hey,
Hmm.
we're aware of how many people are watching this, and we just,
Yeah.
almost like doing what he could to make him look good and make him look
Hmm. To give
right,
him a fair shake, right? To give him a
Yeah.
fair shake. That's what
Yeah.
Rogan did, and that's what I like about Rogan is that he gives his guests a fair shake, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't walk all over them. He lets them speak. He lets them air their views, and if they want to dig a hole for themselves, he just lets them do it. He doesn't stop them from doing it. Look at Elon Musk. I mean, as much as I respect the guy, that whole smoking pot thing was a bad idea. It's a
What
bad
was
idea.
that? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he smoked pot on Joe Rogan's show. Yeah, and
Oh,
his stock tanked, and he got in trouble with the SEC over it. It's
just for smoking pot on a podcast?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Wow.
that's it. Yeah,
That
yeah.
seems kind of ridiculous. Be like,
It's
oh,
his optics.
I thought it was called a podcast. Oops.
Yeah.
That was not funny at all.
No,
um,
you tried. You tried. A for effort.
I
A for effort.
tried. Most people don't call me out when I bomb, but it's good. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Um,
Yeah, I speak the truth. I just say it like it is. And sometimes I misidentify riders who happen to be standing on a roof and turns out they're not riders. But most of the time, I just say it like it is. And it's,
Yeah.
that's just my
You know
personality.
who else is wrong sometimes? Any other journalist, the weather guy, your
Yeah.
own parents, every teacher you've ever
Everybody.
had,
Yeah. Yeah,
everybody.
and these people can keep lying over and over and over and over again, right? MSNBC, CNN, even Fox News nowadays, right? They go on TV, they lie to your face. They talked about what the P tape, Donald Trump's P tape. Everybody was talking about that, and it was completely fabricated. It was the Steele dossier, right?
Yeah.
Completely made up. And they never walked that back, right? They're claiming it's real, even now, even though it's bullshit. And then they have the fucking audacity to call out right-wingers for making a small flub,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Yeah.
even talking about Alex Jones. You're just talking about this in general, like, oh yeah, we misidentified one thing once and we immediately issued a retraction. Oh, that's not good enough. You're canceled.
It's
Please.
crazy. It's so crazy. Like the mainstream media is just like, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the good thing about it is that like voices like yours have been able to like really thrive and be of value to so many because the mainstream media just like has so blatantly obviously not been doing their job, like haven't been for quite some time in this country. But like I think with the whole like suppressing the New York Post article about Hunter Biden, and even like before that, with like
Yeah.
Twitter banning all the QAnon people, but then like having no
Yeah.
problem with child porn being up,
Yeah.
and just
Most
like
of that.
the super egregious like examples of this,
Yeah,
and
just awful
the
stuff.
public's
Like
like, what? Yeah.
you can go to Twitter every day and look at people threatening Donald Trump or conservatives or cops, saying I'm going to kill cops. You know, you're going to say stuff like that. They have like a website posted right now that doxes all of the police officers in Virginia. You know, there's all these websites up, and no one's taking it down. Twitter leaves it up. You know, like my docs are out there. You know, if you really wanted to search for it, just look up my docs and you'll find them. Twitter doesn't take these things down. You know,
Wow.
they don't care. They don't apply these things. And yet, when someone makes a statement like, you know, maybe the shitty paper masks don't work quite as well as N95 masks, you know, they get banned, you know, because, oh, they said something that goes against what the WHO said. You remember when YouTube
Yeah.
was banning all those people for talking about coronavirus? I mean, that was insane. That was nuts. And now
Yeah.
the WHO has walked back on pretty much everything it
Oh
ever
yeah.
said, right? Everything. Right? They're like, oh yeah, the transmission's not so bad, or that lockdowns don't work. You know, they're saying lockdowns don't actually work, and that more people are dying to poverty as a result of the lockdowns. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
Old
talk
people
about
are dying.
depression, suicide. Like no
Yep.
one's talking about that stuff at
No one
all
talks about
yet.
that stuff, yeah. Like Rebel News talks about it because that's what we cover there, right? But if you look at the statistics of like old people dying, you know, why did so many people in New York and New Jersey die? Well, it's because they locked them up, and the lockdowns caused their deaths, right? Because they put them
Because
all
of
in an enclosed
Cuomo,
space.
man.
Yeah, they put them in an enclosed space. And Cuomo, you know, the reason why he did that was because the fucking New York hospitals, the lobbyists, told him to do that. They get paid more money by sending patients, COVID patients, to these homes, right? If they treat
Yeah.
them in hospital, they get less money. So of course they'd send them to these expensive homes. It's the whole
Yeah.
thing's a grift, right? The whole thing's a fucking grift. And in the meantime, CNN and NBC and all these other sites and channels are praising him. They're singing his praises. They're like, oh, Mr. Cuomo, you did such an amazing job. You know, you're like a model to follow.
Ugh.
I'm like,
No, he
are you
didn't.
kidding?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding?
He
Like,
bungled it.
I understand strict lockdowns. I get it. You know, they can work. New Zealand has done it successfully, even I would say. But New Zealand's an island, and they did it in a proper way. They made sure that you know the old folks were separated and segregated from everybody else, so they're not in contact with potential carriers. That was a smart move. Whereas in New York, they're like, oh, let's just put the COVID people with the old people. Yeah, duh. You know, of course they're gonna get sick. They're all in the same enclosed space. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like
It's
anybody
nuts.
who's saying he did a great job. It's like it's so
Delusional.
obvious that they're kissing his ass and they're trying to just be like they're part
Mm-hmm.
of the like whatever the out of touch coastal elite rich like whatever like New York California
Yeah.
people. It's like it's so out of the Democratic Party is so out of touch, and they no longer at all represent the working
No, they
people,
don't.
the working
Anyone.
class. It's like you said, it's like the blue-haired college kids, and
Yep.
it's like the elites, the super rich people who like it kind of doesn't even matter what they believe because it's like they're good, you know. It's like
Yeah, they don't care, right? It doesn't affect them, and none of these policies affects them. Their taxes, whether it goes up or down, doesn't fucking affect them. They get so much money. So
they just open up one of the big fridges, they take out some ice cream,
yeah,
and they're like, "Hey, let's watch Netflix."
yeah, they're totally fine. You know, they're totally fine, not affected. Their jobs, you know, are not going to go away
Hmm.
anytime soon. Whereas if you are, you know, a working class American, your jobs are probably affected. You know, you can't work under, you know, with the pandemic. There's no jobs for you. Instead, all you get are part-time jobs. That's a fact, right?
Yeah.
It's not like Amazon wants to pay you more full-timers. It's cheaper for them to just, you know, hire two employees instead of one, right? And don't give either of them any of their full-time benefits and none of their health care, and just work them to the bone. You know, after 50 hours, fire them, right? Something like that. And that's what they're doing, and that's what Amazon's doing. That's what a lot of companies are doing right now. Some companies are not, you know, but Amazon is, and they're like one of the biggest employers in America right now, or even the world. So that's what these companies are doing, and they benefit from it. They benefit from lockdowns because it means that they don't have to hire full-timers.
Yeah. Oh, your camera froze again.
Again,
Oh
yeah,
no,
I know.
and we're trying
I'll,
to I'm
I'll do
trying to
it. I'll
land
do
this
it.
plane. Okay, okay.
It's me. It's me.
You know, I
Yep.
had an interview with Stuttering John, who I don't at all expect you to know. He's somebody
I
who
have no
was
idea
on
who that
Howard
is.
Stern. He was like he did a bit part, and his camera froze kind of
Mhm.
early into the interview, but I didn't like him. And I was like also like a little afraid of him. And I just never told him his camera was frozen. And it
Yeah.
looked like really insane because the 3/4 of the interview, he was like,
Oh God.
but I'm
Yeah.
telling you because I like you.
Thank
Um, Ian, the guy, I feel like I can talk to you easily for 2 more hours. We'll have to do this again sometime
you. We have to.
after the
Yeah,
election. Please tell the good
definitely.
people where they can find you, follow you, support you, check out your
Mhm.
work.
You can follow me on Twitter. That's where I usually am at Stillgray. That's Stillgray. You can also find me on Instagram, same username. You can find me on Facebook at Ian Cheong. And you can find my work, of course, on humanevents.com, rebelnews.com, thepostmillennial.com, and of course, Penthouse.
I love Penthouse. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, Penthouse. I know, right? Yeah,
This is great. Ian, thank you so, so much. I can't wait
absolutely.
to talk to you another time.
Yep,
Have a good one.
likewise. Likewise.